Okay, Florence, are you going to start or am I starting?
Go ahead. They're all yours.
Hi, well, we're a small group, but that's fine. This is the English part, which I guess we're not getting quite as many people coming in on the English side, but that's quite all right. So really it's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I'm a master sophrologist and I've been working in sophrology since about 2009. I do a lot of work with stress management with adolescents and adults, and then also in the whole burnout area. So I'm just going to launch into this because we have a very short time. If you have any questions, though, you can always send me an email later. And what I'll do is I will type my email into the chat, and I'm just going to do that right now, so that if you want to ask me any questions, just feel free to do that. Okay, so the email is now there. So if any questions, you could just do it that way. And we're just going to start with the theme of the day. I'm just going to share my screen for everyone. And it's really about how do we manage our energy to avoid the burnout, right? So what can we do to avoid the burnout? And it's actually, I think for a lot of us women, it's learning to say no. I think that's one of the key things for us. We seem to be juggling all the balls all the time. But this is our energy to burnout curve. And some of you have probably seen this before. It's used a lot, but there's this healthy pressure that it's sort of the pressure that you need to motivate you. Now, when we're motivated, we have a little bit of adrenaline moving in the body, and there's something that's pushing us toward a goal. And then that optimal performance, when we get to that level, that is really when you have just the right amount of adrenaline flowing in the body. You've got a deadline going. Your breath usually is in a good space, so you're in what we call flow. And there comes a point, though, where we can there's a perception change where suddenly things become a burden. And myself, I went through this a few years ago. It's a long story, so I won't go into it. But what had happened is I've ended up in situations where I couldn't make the simplest decisions, like what to cook for dinner was too hard to think about. And I found myself walking around thinking, oh, I've got my two almost teenage kids I got to manage, and the husband's away, and we had all these other legal cases going on, and everything was moving so much so that I couldn't manage myself, and I was coming over the edge. So when you come over this edge is when the cortisol, so our body produces cortisol when there's long-term stress. And it's when that cortisol, it builds. And if we don't have any way to release it, say whatever's stressing you doesn't go away. It's something that you can't control. It's just there all the time. Well, you have to learn how to manage through that and become a little more resilient. Otherwise, it just pushes you over the edge. And when you really go over the edge, you end up with damage to your health and you start to break down. Now, in this case, what happens is you can actually go to the doctor, they'll measure it. And if your cortisol levels go to absolutely zero, you're done. And I was at a point where I went to the doctor and she said, whoa, you are so close. You got to rest for a couple of weeks. Fortunately, my mother was visiting, so I could. And she said, all right, you got to keep doing what you do, because I was already a sophrologist at that point. So I thought, okay, I need to take a few steps back and I need to make space and time for myself every single day. I don't have to do everything, and I don't have to be super mom anymore. I just have to take a step back. And I was lucky, though, that I took those 2 weeks and that I knew something was wrong. I could feel it within my body. And it was the lack of being able to make a decision that really made the change for me. I thought, oh, okay, this is not a good thing. So it all comes down for me to managing the energy we have. And we only have so much energy every day. It's sort of like if you own a Tesla or any electric car, right? The battery eventually runs out and you've got to go recharge. So you have to question, what am I doing to recharge my batteries? And I like to reference this as called body budget. So what sort of things do I do in the day that renew me? And then what are the things that deplete me? And one of the things that I had to do at that point, because I was facing these 12 legal cases, it was a very stressful time. Some of my friends were great at renewing my batteries, but some of them were always in that woe is me thing, like putting pity on me sort of thing. I had to remove myself from those people because they weren't renewing my battery anymore. It was the people that made me laugh, the people that didn't necessarily talk about all the crap I was going through. Those were the people I needed to spend more time with. And then there were activities too. I'm a very physical person, and I was running a lot. And I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't run as much because running can be super hard. So I started swimming more. And the swimming, actually, it was better for me. I didn't have to swim as long to get my body as tired. But as well, the swimming had just this flow to it, and I had to count my laps. So the swimming emptied my mind more than the running was, because in the running, I'm going through everything in my head. But it was the swimming that was actually renewing my battery a little bit more than the running, because the running I would push too hard. So there comes a point where the things that you love to do, you think, well, that really helps me. It's like, yes, it does. But is it physically draining you? Because you get drained physically, emotionally, mentally, and then there's spiritual as well. Unfortunately, I was doing a lot of different spiritual practices. I follow a faith as well. So that really helped me. That bucket was full. And I kept working on that bucket more so than anything, but I realized I had to peel back some of the other ones. So when we talk about body budget and energy management, I think there are 6 main things that impact this. And the first one, really, it's kind of interesting. We can't do much about, but the first one is the weather. And you think, really? It's the weather? And I'm trying to click, but this doesn't want to click for me. Let me go forward. There we go. It's the weather. So the weather does impact us. And, you know, if you're stuck in weather that's really not great, it's like, how do I change that? You know, there's a song, Always Take the Weather With You. Always take the weather with you. It's a great song. And what they mean there is you have to bring the smile with you, bring the sunshine with you. And if you end up in a lot of rain, it's like, well, how can I learn to appreciate the rain? How can I love the rain? How can I be happy in any weather? And I swim in the lake here in I'm in Genève, and all winter long. And I love it when it's foggy. And my swim mates look at me and go, how can you see this is good weather? It's like, no, but it's different. It's just beautiful. It has its own beauty about it. The fog, it has a different essence, a different feeling. And you can learn to love that, even if it is foggy for 7 days in a row. And then it's our surroundings. So I had to declutter. So instead of just decluttering my mind, I thought I got to declutter everything in my house. So I decided, okay, fine, I'm not going to work for a week. Instead, I'm going to clean out all the closets. And that just helped me realize that cleaning out my physical closets, I also needed to clean out my other closets, which I mentioned, which some of it was some friends, right? Or some situations that weren't helping me. Even sometimes it was going on social media. It's like, okay, I'll just take a break. Don't want to be there anymore. And so I'd stop. And then it's people. So the people around you make a really big difference. And again, I've already talked about how I had to do that. But people give energy and they take energy. And it's those energy vampires that you need to stay away from when you feel that you're even when you know you're going to have a busy work period, step away from those people that take away your energy. If you know, the work period's light, fine, but you know yourself when you're in these heavy times, and that's when you've got to step away. Make sure you surround yourself with the right people. And then we have the physical movement. That's something we control. So the top things are sort of external. The bottom row are all internal. So it's moving. And I was doing a lot of moving, but I was doing too much moving. So I had to peel that back a little bit. So if you're not moving at all, that means that your whole lymphatic system, which flushes the body, isn't working properly. And if you're not flushing the body, it's like not flushing your toilet. And you wouldn't sit there and not flush your toilet for a full day or a week. So you know you got to move your body. Just imagine that toilet backing up, right? That's how important it is to move the body. And then sleep. So sleep is critical, and I do run some sleep workshops because it is so important, and so many people do not sleep well. Fortunately, I do. And even in all of our cases, I found myself being able to separate, of course, to do some sophrology work so I could separate myself from all the negative. Whereas at times, you know, my husband, he would have an extra glass of wine, which is not what you should be doing because that interrupts your sleep. So, but for me, I would do more meditation in order to find a way to fall asleep when I was super, super busy. But it's important to actually look at what your sleep habits are even when you're not overly stressed, because they should be consistent. And that is actually quite critical. And it's what we can control. And then food. Of course, food is central. We all know nutrition is the basic of all health and all life. And I worked with a nutritionist, and I went and looked at all of the things that I could improve on. I felt I was already eating really, really well, but there were some things that were missing because of the amount of stress I was under. So she helped me. We did some blood tests. And it's like, okay, so I need to bump up this, that, and the other thing while I'm in this particular period. And again, that super, super saved me. So then it's another way to improve your body budget, of course, is to take short breaks. And this is where the sophrology comes in. And so what I want to work with you today is a really short break. It's an energizing technique. We do this for the whole body. If you've listened to some of the earlier sessions, you might have know that in sophrology, we break our body down into 5 or 6 systems. Today, what I'm going to do with you, I'm going to work on what I consider to be the most important aspect of the body when it comes to preventing burnout. And that is going to be the area where all of our organs are. So it's the area sort of just below your diaphragm and just below the navel. So this is the area where your liver is, your pancreas, your gallbladder, your stomach, your transverse colon is here as well. And as well, it's where our adrenal glands sit, because they sit just above the kidneys. And your adrenal glands are the glands that support you in stressful times. They're the ones that excrete the adrenaline, the noradrenaline, and as well the cortisol. And these are the ones that we need to come back into balance, or what in the medical field they call it homeostasis. So it's how can we bring this part of the body back to balance, okay? So what we're going to start with is we always approach these techniques with curiosity and wonder. So just experience what you experience. It's going to be different for everybody. And we start with a stilling. We'll do a short stilling technique first. It's like a body scan, but we'll do it nice and short. And then we're going to release some tension. So those of you who are sitting down, to release the tension, I'm just going to invite you to put your hands behind your head, tilt your head back slightly, bring your legs up parallel to the floor, and point your toes to the ceiling like this. We're going to take a nice breath in and just tense that whole body in that position, and then release. We can do that 3 times. Why 3? First time is to let go of physical tension in the body. Second time, it's the emotional tension, and emotional tension can be as strong, if not stronger, than physical tension. Third one is mental tension. Okay, so 3 times: physical, emotional, mental tension. We release it all. And then what we're going to do is, that's the energy part, is we're going to move forward in our chair slightly. And this is more our a good active position to be in. And while in this position, we are then going to concentrate and become just aware of this middle part of the body. And we're going to breathe in what we call vital energy into this part of the body. Now, bringing this energy in, you can do it as you like. It's like, think of it as a life force, vitality and energy. If you're a visual person, it could be maybe energy coming from the sun entering that part of the body. It could perhaps be little vibrations. You might be more of a sensing person, so maybe it's going to feel like warmth in that part of the body. And we're going to bring that energy in to this part of the body. And then what we're going to do is we're going to think about the cells in that part of the body. So I'll talk you through it a little bit. I'll mention the liver and some of the other parts, but I'll focus on the adrenal glands. So we're going to work on first the skin, the muscles, and then the organs. And we're going to harmonize our cells. Okay, so it's when we harmonize the cells, we have 100 trillion cells in the body, and they're very small. But the cells that make up your organs, when we harmonize them, that means they're all doing the job they should be doing, and they're doing it well. Okay, so we're going to bring in that vital energy, and then we're going to energize and harmonize the cells within this part of the body. Okay, and we're doing that just so that they work well together and that they can come back to balance and back to homeostasis, right? Then we're going to take a short pause. And in that pause, we're just going to become aware of anything you might be sensing in this part of the body without judgment. So just noticing, okay? All right, are we ready to get started with the technique? Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to invite everyone to what I call get into a comfortable position. So sitting, usually it's with your back against the chair. And I'll just invite you to have your feet on the floor, your hands loosely in your lap. And we are going to change our breathing into abdominal breathing for the technique. So we're just going to start by closing your eyes now. Just inviting you to do that, just taking the breath in, breath out. Just slowing the breath down a little. And as we do this, just noticing the sounds outside the room, the sounds far away. And noticing the sounds closer at hand, the sounds in the room. Then becoming aware of the sounds of the body. So perhaps the breathing. And now just let go of all of these sounds and accept them as being part of life. And I just drop into my body, letting go of everything external. And I just become aware of the body itself sitting in the chair. Just sensing and becoming aware of my head, my neck and shoulders, the backs of my arms, the insides of my arms, my chest, my upper back. Just slowly working down the body into the abdomen, the middle back, the hip area, the pelvic region, my legs and my feet. Then as I breathe in and breathe out, just becoming aware of the whole body sitting in the chair and noticing where my body makes contact with the chair. Just letting myself drop deeper within the body, sensing. Then I'm going to release any tension I may have found in the body as I did the scan. So I'm going to tilt my head back, put my hands behind my head, bring my feet up parallel to the floor, pointing my toes to the ceiling. Take a breath in. Hold that breath, tense the whole body. And then release that tension and blow it, any physical tension in the body now. Doing this one more time, hands behind the head, breathe in. Feet up, tense the whole body, tense the legs and the toes. Tense your nose and release. Emotional tension. And one more time, hands behind the head, legs up, toes pointing to the ceiling. Breathe in. And tense the body a third time. And this time releasing mental tension. Just sitting back in the chair again. Dropping back into the body, noticing how the tension's running out of the body and how does that feel? What do you sense within your arms, your legs, your chest, your back? We're now going to move forward into the middle of the chair. It's an attentive position. Our hands are in our lap. Taking a breath in. Tense the body a little. Breath out. Now going to become aware of the middle portion of the body. So the softer middle part that's not protected. So noticing the space between the diaphragm and the navel. We become aware of the organs here, our liver, gallbladder, pancreas, our stomach, our kidneys, our adrenal glands, and the transverse colon. And we're going to breathe energy into this part of the body. And again, you choose how the energy appears, whether it's a visual or a sensing. So with the in-breath, we're going to breathe energy into this part of the body. And on the out-breath, we're going to stimulate, energize, and harmonize all the cells in this part of the body. So breathing in this vitality, this energy. And as we breathe out, we're going to harmonize all the cells. You can think of the cells of the skin first. And then perhaps on the next in-breath and out-breath, maybe sending it to the muscles in this part of the body. And then on the next in-breath, bringing in that vital energy. And as we breathe out, we're going to harmonize the glands. So perhaps let's think of the adrenal glands here. So focusing on these small glands above the kidneys, breathing vital energy into the glands. Noticing how that feels. And as we breathe out, just harmonizing and energizing the adrenal glands. You can work on the other organs in this part of the body as well, or just focus on the adrenal glands themselves. And I invite you to do this 2 more times in your own rhythm, breathing in. And harmonizing as we breathe out and energizing. Just visualizing and sensing these organs coming back to homeostasis, back to balance. Then invite you to sit with your back against the chair. And just notice how the body feels. We're going to take a slight pause here. We're just focusing on that middle part of the body. What is it that you sense? What do you feel? Without judgment, just noticing and sensing. And before we open our eyes, just with each breath, just feel a deep sense of confidence and trust in yourself. And feel the mind and the body, the heart, completely harmonized. Noticing how the adrenal glands as well are harmonized. And with each breath, we create a positive future for ourselves, filled with happiness and well-being. And with that, I invite you to start wiggling your toes. Just stretch your arms and your hands and open your eyes when you're really ready to open your eyes. And traditionally what we do after such a technique is we then jot down what we sense in the body, because that just helps us cognitively register what it feels like to have harmonized a particular part of the body. And with that, I don't know, Florence, if we are allowed some questions, or if anyone wants to put some comments in the chat, that would be fine. We have just
normally we've run out of time, but you're the last one today, so we can take a few more minutes. Absolutely. If people want to share a few words in the chat about how they felt during the exercise, that's absolutely fine. Or you can write it down for yourself. And if you have questions for Annette, we can take 1 or 2 questions. And then the rest, as you know, you can also write your questions. Annette shared her email. If it's a more general question, you can also put it on the platform. So that's also another way to do it. But yes, feel free if you want to ask something now.
So the sensations, what I'd be interested in hearing is, what sort of sensations did you feel? That's a very quick run through that technique. Again, these are small breaks. So it's learning how to do short breaks versus a full exercise. I focus on this part of the body because this is where our adrenal glands are. And our adrenal glands are the glands that are most important when it comes to burnout, because those are the glands that secrete the adrenaline, the noradrenaline, and the cortisol. And when you're burnt out, basically, it's those glands that are not functioning anymore. So we want to bring those back to homeostasis. Okay. Great. Thank you for the comments in the chat. I appreciate them. Lovely. And I wish you all a really good evening, and with harmonized organs.
Thank you very much, Annette. Thank you.